Good morning. Jeff will be here in just a moment. Here he comes.
Morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing. It's a very drizzly morning here. Had to do a little bit of a switch around from what we were going to talk about, but we're going to go out and have a look at the Willow Tunnel that we built last year, or started building last year, but we'll save that for the next time. It's a little bit wet out there this morning, thunderstorms and things, but hey, gardens need rain, so I'm not going to complain. I'm going to talk briefly about a couple of things. It is that time of year now. We're sort of mid-June to later June. The grocery stores are shutting down their garden centers, and some of those temporary pop-up garden centers are shutting down, clearing things out. And, you know, if you know what you're looking at, if you know what you're looking for, you can find some great deals. You know, be looking around at what's on the tables. Sometimes you'll find things in good shape that may have just come into those spots recently, and now they're just clearing out, or you might stumble across some great deals. And actually, I'm going to step off camera for a minute, and I'm just going to go and grab a couple of those great deals, and then we're going to talk about a couple of different things. So give me a half a second. I'll let Laura maybe show you something pretty. Here, Laura, look at this. This is actually really cool. I can't get over how well it's doing. It's our staghorn fern mounted. I love it. Anyway, we'll be right back. Okay, here we are. Didn't have to go far. All right. So we got a few goodies here found in the bargain bin at a grocery store's garden center closing up. So I'm going to go over what I found, tell you how much I paid for it, and you'll see what a great deal I got. First one is a salvia. It's a salvia called Midnight Purple. These salvia nemorosas, there's lots and lots of different varieties out there now. But they're beautiful, May to June bloomers. If you deadhead them, they will continue to bloom. You can treat them two ways. You can deadhead lightly, or you can cut them back heavy. When I picked this up, just as an example, it was covered in spent flower heads like this, and it was a mess. But, you know, a few minutes, deadheading back, you can see where I deadheaded once already here. We'll take this one back too. Maybe we'll go back just to there and see what happens. But if you look right opposite where I cut that off, there's another flower spike coming right there. Further back down the stem, there's another flower spike coming there, and we might get another flower spike coming here. I did the same thing all the way around this plant. I cut off this bit of stem. There's a bit of flower here, but we're going to get bloom, bloom, bloom. This side hasn't been cut back yet, so it's still a little bit behind. But you know what? I think I paid about $3 for this. So I'm going to get a great salvia. There's lots of growth on these still. And also at the base, you can see we've got lots of new crowns starting at the base. That's something that's really important as you're shopping for a lot of perennials through the summer. Echinacea is a good example. This is an Echinacea Ruby Star, one of the more tried and true seed-grown echinaceas. But if you're shopping for echinaceas at this time of the year, what you really need to do is not look up here at what's going on up here. If they have a flower on it so you can see the flower color and the shape and the form, great. But you need to be paying attention to what's going on down here. I grabbed this plant, a couple of bucks, no problem, and I'm looking at it, and it actually has 4 flower spikes on it, which is amazing for such a young echinacea. But what we're not seeing on this one too much is a lot of new basal growth. Now, I do know that because this has 4 stems, there's probably a fair bit down here waiting. But what you should be looking for and avoiding when you're shopping for things like echinacea at this time of the year is very sparse down here and 1 or 2 flower stalks with a bloom on. Sometimes young echinaceas, when you get them in the garden centers and when they're just growing, they will just want to send up a flower spike. And that's problematic with young echinacea plants. So many people, since all the fancy colors started coming out, have lost echinaceas because you see a root, a crown that sent up a flower spike. You planted it in the garden, you enjoyed the flower, and then the plant never came back next year. Problem is you've got to help the plant build up the crown at the base. And allowing them to bloom first year does not help with that. Now, a lot of new cultivars, of the echinaceas in particular, that have come out, that problem is much less of an issue. We were shopping yesterday. I saw great pots full of foliage with bloom. You need to have a look right down here. And right now, we can see on this one that even though we have 4 strong flower spikes, we just have 1 small vegetative growth right here in the center. If we allow this to go into the garden and bloom, that could be the only vegetative crown it makes, and then be a very weak plant next year or not come back at all. So what you need to do, and especially at this time of the year, is when you get a new echinacea like this, you've got to be a bit ruthless. Take those flowers off. Put them in a vase. Enjoy them on your kitchen table the first year, but let the plant put its energy into building up vegetative crowns rather than blooms the first season, and you will have a much better plant that will be there next year. Like I say, growers have figured this out a little bit, and they've figured out a way to treat the tiny baby echinacea plants so that they start to form those vegetative crowns, so it's getting better. But you still need to watch that. Don't always buy the one with the bloom on it. Look for the one that has some action at the soil level. Just like this salvia does. It's got good growth up here, but we can see we're building up a crown. If perennials don't build up that crown that first year, they're not coming back. Okay, so it's very, very important at this time of the year, whether you're bargain shopping or full price shopping, to look for that on the plants.
But it's a good time to bargain shop.
Oh, it's a great time to bargain shop. We filled our trunk up yesterday. Had a great time. The other one I'm going to talk about is the clematis. Now, so we've got this wonderful clematis varieties called Nubia. It's one of Raymond Devison's more recent introductions. It's in the Boulevard series. Now, the Boulevard series are short-growing plants that bloom spring and rebloom in summer, so they're group 2. The Boulevard series is bred to bloom all the way up the stems. So this one has been sitting in the garden center at the grocery store for a while. Got picked over for whatever reason.
Tried out.
Picked it up for $10. And if you've been clematis shopping lately, getting a clematis for $10 is a heck of a deal. But, I mean, it's a little bit rough looking. It's got some flowers on it. And Nubia is this gorgeous dark burgundy. It's going to go on a new trellis with our small rambling roses, the Silhouette series. But we've got to get it off this trellis, and we've got to get it planted right. So one thing that's really important to remember with clematis is the stems are very, very brittle. So getting it off this grower trellis is going to be a bit of a challenge. It's already got a broken stem here that goes up somewhere into the plant, so we'll have to figure that out. I think probably what I'll do with this little trellis here is just going to cut the trellis right off. There's really not much sense in trying to salvage this trellis. More important that we try to salvage as much of the clematis as possible.
But don't cut it.
Without cutting the clematis.
Yeah, and you're cutting it. There you got it.
That was the dead bit. It's already broken off. So we'll see what happens when we get down in here. So we'll continue to do that, and then we'll tease these stems out. Much easier to do than trying to untwine them from their little trellis. So don't think, oh, I could use that trellis for something else. It's pretty much a single use. Well, we've almost got it freed here. Get it all out to the same side. And we're getting there. I'm not going to go and do the whole thing. I'll work on that off. But what I want to show you, this is very important with clematis, and you don't often get told it enough. See here where the crown is. You can see the topmost roots coming out. That's because when this thing was planted, you can actually see the plug that it was in. See this little square spot here? You can see it. It's a bump right there.
Yeah.
These things get potted by machine. Or people who have no idea about plants, they just work at it as a job. These shoot down the conveyor belt, a machine fills the pot with soil, somebody grabs the plug of plant, stuffs it in the pot, next person jams the trellis on, and away it goes. So it's planted very high. Now if you're planting a tree or something, planting high is not a big deal. Often it's the right way to go. With clematis, however, we have these very thin, brittle stems to remember, and they're easily broken. They could be broken while we're taking the trellis off. They could be broken by a strong windstorm, anything like that. So we want to have some insurance. So what we do to have some insurance that our clematis is going to be fine if it gets damaged on top is when we plant it, we are going to bury this crown. And where we're going to bury it, thankfully it's already got no leaves on the bottom. They probably dried up when this dried out a couple of times in the garden center. We're going to bury it about this deep into the garden. What that's going to do for us is it's going to allow all these stems to produce roots, much like when we plant tomatoes do. Also, you'll see, we talk a lot about nodes and things on the plants. These nodes here where leaves used to be also have dormant buds. And those dormant buds will sprout underground and grow up from the ground. So what you'll end up with is more stems from the ground, which is the goal when you're planting clematis. Now, fortunately, this one is really good, actually. It already has 5 stems from the ground, which is great. But we're going to make it 10 or 12 stems from the ground by planting deeply. That way, if the stem gets damaged or broken, you've got lots of backup. Also, by burying those stems, clematis will root off the stems, and you will build up your root ball of your clematis, and you will have a very happy, healthy plant. Now, a lot of this top growth, as we were starting to work at getting it off the trellis here, isn't terribly important to us at the moment. You know, if we lose a bit of it, it's not a real big deal. Because what I'm going to do with this clematis is, even though it's a group 2 and blooms in the spring, next spring we're going to cut it down to about a foot tall. And again, what that does is it allows the clematis to put out more growth from the base. You know, many years ago, we planted a group of clematis along a wall that was open above. So we had a wall, it got to a point, and then there was a railing because there was another level up here. We planted the clematis, they grew right to the top of the trellises that first year. I was thrilled with it, so I didn't touch them. From the top level, they looked great. Built up lots of growth on the top railings, it was awesome. When you walked down into the garden, all you had was single stems right up to 6 feet, and then foliage. The wall was completely bare. So you want to avoid that issue by getting all these stems built up from the ground. So you have a bushy vine right through. So we're getting there with this guy. We're almost there. But I'm going to leave it for now. It's going to take a couple more minutes longer. So don't be afraid to buy clematis like this. Don't be afraid if you damage some of this top growth. Snip it off. It's going to grow. More importantly, you want it to grow from the base and from the roots. That's what we're trying to do. When you buy perennials, when you buy trees and shrubs, it's all about the roots. Quickly going to mention one more thing. Had a few leftover acidanthera bulbs. Acidantheras are often classified as a gladiolus. They're wonderful, tall gladiolus-like foliage, white flowers with little dark purple blotches, very fragrant, wonderful sort of late summer bulb. We still had some bulbs left, but they're still in great shape. And if you're seeing bulbs like this on sale places, or gladiolus on sale, give them a feel. They feel firm. I can't squeeze these. They're not soft. They've actually got a touch of growth coming. And they're on for a super clearance. Take a chance and grab them. These acidantheras will still bloom this year. It's going to be late. Probably be September. But we're going to plant them. And they're going to come along and give us a beautiful show, probably in the fall. And you don't have to worry that they are very late and we're in June. You can still do it. You can still throw some gladiolus in if you find them. Very easy going. So, look for your bargains. But shop wisely. Sometimes things are bargains because they're in really rough shape and should just be left to the compost pile. But you can find some great deals out there if you know what to look for. Any questions today, Laura?
So Betty would like to know, she'd like to get a snowflake weigela that she saw a picture of.
Okay.
Do they require lots of care, and do you know where in Durham she can try to get it?
Weigelas are probably one of the better shrubs that kind of go under the radar a little bit. There are some outstanding varieties, some really good new ones, and even some of the older varieties. We've got a variegated old Weigela Florida variegata that has been spectacular this year. It's big flowers. I've seen some wonderful red flowering ones. They're really heavy blooming. And the new varieties that are coming out with Weigelas, really heavy flowering. A number of them have dark purple foliage, so when the flowering is finished, you've got that nice foliage contrast. Snowflake is a white one. Great plants. I would, when you find one, I would plant a Weigela. Full sun, light shade, doesn't really matter. They're very easy going, very drought tolerant once you get them planted. Where to find them in Durham? Look for garden centers that keep well stocked through the whole season. Probably the biggest one that comes to my mind would be Vandermeer's and Ajax. That would be the first place I would start. There are some other good garden centers around. We have the Sheridans in Whitby. But also have a quick walk through your box stores and your garden centers at the grocery stores. You never know what you might find. But if you're looking probably for your best bet, I would try Vandermeer's in Ajax would be my first stop. They keep very well stocked with shrubs all through the season. It's nice that a garden center will bring in fresh for the summer and not just try to unload the leftovers that start to get a bit tired. And they do that, and they keep fully stocked right through the growing season. Any other questions?
A few. So Cheryl, just a comment, when she was here, took pictures of some of the unusual plants when she was shopping.
Yeah.
Took them to her photo club friends, and they were amazed.
Oh,
so.
Oh, that's good to know. Thanks, Cheryl.
Sophie wonders, is it too late to do the Chelsea chop on chrysanthemum, and how much should she do?
So chrysanthemums are one of those plants that you can prune till about the 1st of July. I wouldn't do any pruning or pinching back after the 1st of July on your fall mums, or you might push the bloom too late. What you're wanting to do now, and what the mums are doing right now, is putting on lots of vegetative growth. And that vegetative growth, when you pinch it, will branch and give you more stems. Okay? So you want to get that done now, no later than the 1st of July, I would say. And if you give them a good pinch now, you'll have lots and lots of bloom for the autumn season.
Cheryl says she cuts about 1/3 of hers back. Cuts it back about 1/3.
Yeah, you can cut it back about 1/3. If you want, you can also selectively cut back. And if you do like 1/3 of the plant cut back, 1/3 of the plant just pinched, 1/3 of the plant left alone, you can actually have a very long bloom time, because the unpinched stuff will bloom first, and then the lower parts will bloom later. It's a way of, sort of managing your bloom times of some of your late blooming things. Then it can work quite effectively.
Mary has a coral bell melting fire perennial that she planted a few years ago in a shady garden.
Okay.
The grower's tag said plant in sunshade garden. Unfortunately, it hasn't grown much. When should she move it to a part sun area of her garden? And what can she do to boost its growth?
If it's not doing well, I would just move it. Coral bells are sold as shade plants. A lot of them are based on woodland plants. In nature, they grow in sort of partly shaded wooded areas. But if it's doing nothing, it's probably in too much shade. So dig it up, move it down. Interesting thing about heuchers, as they grow, because they are sort of a woodland, type plant, they have an interesting habit of growing on very short stems and getting a little taller every year from the crown. So when you replant, plant them deeper. Once they're in place and growing, make sure you're pulling some mulch or a bit of soil up near the crowns, because they will almost grow themselves out of the ground as they get older. So watch for that kind of unusual growth happening. The other possibility, and hupers are a little bit prone to this sometimes, is if you see a huper not doing well in the garden, go up to the plant and give it a gentle tug. If the crown lifts right off, or if it only comes off on one tiny root and most of the crown is still there, then you've got a problem. Look into the crown and see if you can see vine weevils. Vine weevils are a little braid beetle with an elephant little snout. You might see adults. You might see the little white grubs. Vine weevils are a terrible little pest that affect things from time to time, and hupers are one of them. So if you ever see a huper not doing well, give them the little tug test. Even in the garden centers, when you're buying a huper, give it the tug test. All right? You will find occasionally it happens that the huper, the plant looks great because it might be surviving on a few roots, but if you give it a gentle tug, the whole crown will come out. Then you know you've got a vine weevil problem, and you might actually even see the grubs or adults there. Now, what you can do with hupers, you can just take that crown and jam it back in the ground somewhere else. Keep it well watered, and it'll likely grow some new roots and survive. But the vine weevils will make it look like it's not too happy because they've eaten most of the roots off at the crown levels. Keep that in mind.
And just one more comment. Okay. Betty said her teddy bear sunflowers are doing great, and the bunnies love them too.
Yes. Well, we saw a little bunny running through the garden this morning here, so we'll have to get the dog out and let him have a little run. I'm glad to hear your sunflowers are doing well, though. That's terrific. So we're going to wrap it up with that. Hit the garden centers. Keep shopping. Keep buying plants. Garden center owners will appreciate it. We will see you next time on Let's Get Going.